As is the beauty of doing what we do here, we get to have the actual director, filmmaker actually come up and join us after these films, which is an awesome part of what we get to do. So this is, of course, an open session for you guys to ask any questions. I'll let Matt kind of introduce himself and the work, and then we'll go from there.
Hi, everybody. Let's hear what the slide is with Paul.
Okay.
My name is Matt Croyle. I wrote and directed and shot film, cut it. Yeah, it's kind of like our little passion project. It was my first feature, and this is Paul Schermerhorn, who acted in the movie as Kevin, and he's down from Jamestown. So, first things first, little stuff that we noticed. What we saw of the film tonight, or what you guys saw of the film tonight, the film isn't normally that contrasty. It's a black and white film, but we should have, and I apologize, it's kind of my fault. I should have checked the projector before we actually hit play on it to check and see what the contrast was like, because it's normally not. It looks like somebody cranked the contrast up on the black and white. That's why there's a lot of spots in it that were dark where you couldn't see faces and things like that. The movie doesn't look like that normally. So I just want to let you guys know that. But other than that, no, I'm glad that you guys came out to watch the film tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed it. It's 2.5 years of our lives that we were talking about this on the way down tonight, that literally almost to the day, it was 6 years ago that we started principal photography. We started shooting. And it's been out for about 3.5 years. It lived, when we released it worldwide on VHX was about 3.5 years ago. It was like the day or 2 days after Christmas of 2014. And it doesn't live anywhere online right now, because we're working on getting the DVD packaged up for it to sell DVDs so people can. Because a lot of people like the physical copies and stuff. We did the video on demand thing, but a lot of people like to hold it in their hand. Still do the whole DVD thing. So we're doing that with it right now. It might eventually make its way back online at some point, but right now I think I'm personally going to just focus on the next project. This thing's been out for a while, and I'm glad that we finally got to bring it at least here to DuBois so you guys could give it a watch. So thank you for having us come down here. This was fun. This is very, very awesome. You have anything to say? You want to say anything?
Yeah, I mean,
all right. So if you guys have any questions, you want to talk about the film at all, we're all ears as far as. Yeah. Hi.
Did you, when you were writing the script, did you include any personal details?
It's really funny that you bring that up. The question for the people that are going to watch this, that Ed's filming this for us, she asked if I had included any personal ordeals or personal details in the screenplay as far as from my life in the process of writing it. And the answer is yes. It's really kind of funny because I started writing the script, the first, I guess, 10 pages of the script my sophomore year of college. So I was probably 19 years old for a screenwriting class at Clarion. And it was just kind of an exercise, and it was put away, and then as I got more and more involved and interested in filmmaking and the whole process of writing, I've always been a writer, but taking it, to a more serious, I guess, level than what I had normally done before. Then graduated college, got married, and kind of worked on it a little bit here and there, but went through a divorce and moved back. Lived in Charlotte for a year, 2 years actually. And then, so I had 35 pages of a screenplay just kind of sitting on the shelf, and I thought, well, you know what? I moved back home. I need to write because I'm going through this whole thing, ordeal myself. And there's no better outlet, I think, for anybody than just getting it out on paper, even if nobody reads it, just to get it out. It's such an amazing outlet. But I went back and I looked at this thing and I thought, you know, what can I say about me personally right now, what I'm going through, in a way that I could incorporate it into the screenplay, that maybe someday, if it ever gets shot, if we ever shoot it or whatever, that people could look back and I can look back and people can kind of, I guess, grasp hold or you know, of what I was saying at the time. And so yeah, there's a lot obviously in there that, like, my sister was never a stripper. My sister's older than me, not younger than me. That was never a thing. We did go to the same college, but the stuff that you see, the personal things, like, there's little bits of stuff that really happened, like him walking up on the back porch and seeing the girl he's in love with kissing a dude in the window. That happened. Like, that is literally something that happened in my life. And I found a way to incorporate it into the story that it would make sense within, you know, the context of the story itself. But yeah, there's a lot of personal stuff in there, a lot of how I feel about specific things in the script itself. So.
I've looked through this a couple times already at different showings. Why don't you tell people about shooting your graduation scene, which I always thought was interesting.
The graduation, do you remember that day?
The process.
Yeah.
How many?
Well, the thing is, you know, I guess we originally put a call out it was a Saturday morning at like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know, it's probably a lot like here. It's very similar, the counties, I guess, Venango counties. You know, we're rural Pennsylvania from like central PA over. So we have kind of a lot of the similar lifestyles in like the small town kind of feel. And so you're literally asking people to get out of bed on a Saturday morning to meet you downtown to shoot this scene, and you're calling for 80 to 100, 150 extras or something like that. You know everybody's going to be out drinking on a Friday night, so this is never going to happen. Literally, that day we had all of our principals show up, get into full graduation gear. We're all there, we're ready, set. Went down, took all the chairs out of the Pulaski Club, which is a private club in Oil City.
Yeah.
Moved those the whole way down to the park, got everything set up. So I've been going myself since about 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and so we'll get all that set up. We're ready to shoot. 8 o'clock rolls around. There's nobody there. No extras at all. So I'm thinking, all right. So I get on Facebook or whatever, Twitter, and I'm just like, hey, we need people. Come on down. Another 15, 20 minutes goes by, nobody there. So we're like, all right. So I'm kind of flipping out. These guys are all just kind of chilling out in their graduation garb, doing their thing, having some coffee. I think Brooke was very, very tired, so she was actually napping while we were waiting for people. And so like about 40, 45 minutes goes by, and at that time we had 4 extras, 4 people. So I thought to myself, okay, this is really awkward because we're supposed to be shooting this huge graduation scene, you know, for these people. But then I really got to thinking about it, and this is where the troubleshooting kind of director mode shifts into play. You look at it and you think, well, okay, what do I need to have as opposed to what I want? And what it came down to was me realizing that the scene wasn't about how many people were actually at this graduation. It was about the main characters having this moment at their graduation. So what I ended up deciding to do was shoot the thing in close with them, and utilizing audio to make it sound like there was more people there than there actually was. And it works because it's their moment. It's not 300 extras moment. It's the main characters. And I think the intimacy of the way I shot the film there's a lot of close-ups. There's a lot of keeping it in tight on them, and it makes it, I think, a little bit more personal because you're kind of invading their space in a sense, and you're kind of right there with them. I think it made more sense for me to shoot that sequence that way, kind of frame people out. The 4 extras that we did have, we kind of strategically placed maybe in between shoulders, so it looked like there was more people there. But I think it just made more sense to shoot it more intimately, that way than what I had originally planned. It's I've always said about directing, it's about when you're on set and you're actually shooting, it's about 5 to 7% of what directing is about, and the rest of it is problem solving and troubleshooting and trying to figure out what's going to work and what isn't.
Why did you decide to shoot the film in black and white as opposed to color?
Well, that's a good question. Ed asked why I decided to shoot it in black and white as opposed to color. Now, my original concept for the film, I was going to shoot it in color. But the more I looked at the script and the more I realized what I was writing about is the main character, which is really his story, Matt King's character, Declan, it's really his story, and it's the story of his that you follow. You feel what he's feeling. And he really sees things throughout the film. He doesn't really see any kind of gray area. It's either black or white to him. It's one way or another way, and there's no middle ground to any way that he processes things. And for me, I thought that it was important to visually show that, so you almost see what you're feeling, and which makes a lot of sense. That turn at the end when you get that one shot that's in full color is he's finally seeing, outside of that black and white realm. Just one thing or the next. He can kind of see the way that those two extremes could meet in the middle.
You play a character who's a professor who's teaching film.
Right.
And you give advice to your students.
Right.
Was this advice that you got from other professors or things you picked up on your own?
Well, I don't.
Working at it?
Okay, Ed asked me if my character, the advice that he gives in the movie, is stuff that I've heard and kind of in my own experience. I don't think the character of Stemler really gives much advice. It's kind of, he does like in that last real scene that he's in, or I guess the next to last scene that he's in. That just kind of comes out of my own experience because as a creative person, I think other creative people a lot of the time have this tendency to wait somehow for permission to make things. They look to other people to say that it's okay. That like, oh yeah, you should totally go do that, and you need. I don't think we need permission to make our art, to say things that we need to say, to open, just to open your mouth up and say what you want. As long as we can give ourselves permission to do that, I think that's more important than anybody telling you it's okay to say to have a voice. So I think that's kind of where I think I've always felt like that. So and looking back at kind of that in retrospect now, I can see how I have always felt that way in a sense.
If you were to shoot the film today, what would you do that was different?
Ed's like taking over the Q&A. It's cool. No, you're good. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
If you were to shoot the film today, what would you do differently about it?
I would not shoot it on a low-end DSLR. Although it's kind of really organic in that sense, and it's really kind of raw in a way, and that's kind of what I guess kind of gives its whatever little bit of charm that it has. I would, other than that, honestly, I don't think I would change anything about it because it was such a process, a learning experience for me, being a first feature. Chris Nolan, I think it was Chris Nolan that said, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, on your first feature, on your first real feature film, try to do as much work on it as you can. Try to do as much of it by yourself as you possibly can. Not only are you learning kind of the broad spectrum of what it takes to make a movie, but anything that's good about the film, you get to take credit for. And anything that's bad about the film, you're forced to take credit for. And it's kind of like, it's all on you at that point. Now, maybe, the next thing I shoot, it'll be a little bit easier for me to kind of like step back and maybe just direct and write or something like that, as opposed to, trying to do all of it. That's rough. 2.5 years of doing, pretty much what you see on the screen other than their acting was me, was me doing all that. And it's a lot of work. And I if you're a first-time filmmaker, sure, go ahead and do that, because you're really going to learn what it takes to make a movie. Yeah.
How do you, as a director, approach a scene differently that you're in versus scenes that you're not in?
See, that was something that Maddie and I really, because I'm really only in any scenes with Matt, right? Yeah. Okay. So his question was, as a director, how do I approach a scene that I'm in as opposed to a scene that I'm not in? Well, I think the big difference there is you kind of have to have a disconnect from it when you're in front of the camera. I grew up on stage acting, and so for me, it's a little bit easier to kind of have that disconnect. Now, if you have a director that's not used to acting or hasn't acted before, that maybe is forced into an acting role on a low-budget movie, that they just need an extra actor and they can't find anybody to do it, it might be a little bit different. But I think like the scene that was in my character's kitchen with them at the beginning of the movie. I had an assistant director, my friend Steve Gallagher, who I went to college with. He came up from Pittsburgh that day specifically to direct us in that scene, because that way I could kind of separate myself, because that's the first that I had. I think that was the first scene I shot, and I wanted to have that kind of disconnect where I could step away and listen to somebody else. I talked to him about what I wanted for the scene, but I was able to just kind of separate myself completely from having to direct at all. It's interesting because the handheld stuff in that scene, when it's tight on Matt, I'm actually filming, and Matt King, what was great about having him on set is he's also a director. He went to Temple for film. And so not only having him as my lead actor, he also had this kind of broad understanding. I never went to film school, and he did. So it was nice to have him there, because we were able to figure out what shots look best, how we should do, set certain things up. And when I was on camera in that sequence, he was filming. And Steve, we were the camera operators for each other while Steve directed. Which was kind of interesting. It was a kind of a weird dynamic, but the way I was able to cut it together, it kind of worked. But you do have to have that disconnect when you're there. You have to kind of step outside of take your director's hat off, put your actor hat on.
If somebody else is doing it, you have to be on the same page as far as that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Did you ever find yourself in the scenes where you were acting, and did you ever find yourself criticizing?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Did you ever, in the scenes you were acting in, did you ever find yourself criticizing yourself?
Oh, of course. So the question is, the scenes that I acted in, did I ever find myself criticizing my own acting? Of course. I think as actors are more hard on themselves, I think, than anybody is. You could have the worst audience in the world just hate on you, and you're probably harder on yourself, I think, than they could ever be. Granted, you always, people that act, people that act for a living, especially, that's something that you're so passionate about that you want to do it for the rest of your life, that's what you want to make a living at. That's how you want to express yourself. So as actors, I understand actors really well, because I grew up one. you know, as a teenager and through college and stuff like that. And there's something inside them that really searches for some kind of validation from, and you know, other people. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. You wouldn't want to do that otherwise. And actors say, "No, I just want to tell stories." Well, that's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to tell you. But literally, there is something inside actors that they need to be heard, and they need validation in a way. And there's nothing wrong with that by any means. I think it's kind of an admirable thing to bear yourself and your innermost feelings to the world in order to get that kind of validation. I think it's kind of an even trade that way. But for me, myself, yeah, I would watch, you know, footage and stuff that we had shot, and I would be very picky about what takes I would use in the cuts, because I don't know. Some people like seeing themselves on screen, on camera. I don't per se. I think I used to when I was younger, but now it's just like, no, thanks. You know, I've gotten away from that a lot at this point. So, yeah.
What was your budget, and did you have to compensate anybody that worked with you on this?
We had, as far as locations, some of the locations we did use budget stuff for. A lot of the budget went to gear. We did not pay any actors. They were amazing to us and took 2.5 years of their lives to, you know, like put their own lives on hold at times. Logistically, it was kind of difficult because, you know, Paul's from Jamestown and Brooke's from Newcastle, and you know, to have them there at the same time was a little rough. We'd have to kind of schedule around everybody's work schedule and do all that kind of stuff. Our budget was 10 grand. We had raised it, grassroots funded it from, I think there was 12 countries globally that kind of believed in the script enough to where they were like, yes, here you go. And a lot went into post-production of the film. The majority of it was. But yeah, it's interesting. It's only a little 10G movie. That's
Only.
it. The 10K movie.
Some movies don't have that.
10 Gs. I know. Yeah, that's yeah. We were lucky. But the thing is, the way that I did it is interesting, because it wasn't your regular Kickstarter campaign where you start here and you have a certain amount of time to raise this many funds, or else you don't get any, you know, of it. I kind of looked at it in the sense where if people liked the script and I was transparent about what we were doing, what I could do is, and what I did was kind of modeled that kind of Kickstarter campaign feel, to where, you know, you had your different levels of contribution, you'd get specific perks and things like that for each level. And I opened up a website, and we literally opened funding and kept funding open throughout post-production. So 2.5 years of just, you know, you'd go 6 months without ever getting anything, you know. But yeah, we were able to do that, and it was, you know, it's nice that way. It was nice that way. It didn't force people to be like, you have to give me money by this amount of time, or else, you know, yeah, it wasn't forced on anybody, which was nice.
A few questions.
Yeah.
So I think you may have covered this before. How many camera ops did you have, given any usual shoot?
I think the question was, how many people did I have on camera shooting as camera operator? Literally, there was only 3 of us. The majority of the movie I shot myself. Matt King was also a camera operator, and Rick Austin was a camera operator for one shot. It was the traveling shot in the cemetery that opens that cemetery scene up. And he was up there. We lit that with car headlights, which was crazy. And that was actually, it was spring, so it was supposed to be semi-warm that night. And it was supposed to, you know, I guess in the look of the script, or in the time frame of the script, according to the script, it would have been like summer. And it was like 19 degrees out that night, which was horrible. And there's my poor mom. That was my mom in the movie with the, my poor mom with her oxygen tank, you know, at 19-degree weather, and we're up there, and all of us are, we have behind the scenes footage that you can actually see of that Randy and those guys were shooting while we were getting the shot set up. And my mom's going in and sitting in a car in between takes while we're getting everything set back up again. But yeah, there was only 3 camera operators, but the majority of the film I shot myself. Yeah.
So you mentioned taking credit for the good parts and taking credit for the bad
Yes.
parts of your first feature.
Yes.
And so, what would you consider to be, the positive and the negative as far as about the making?
Question was, what do I consider the positive and negative parts of the movie? Since I feel that first-time directors should take credit for all of their first feature. The sound could have been done a hell of a lot better. That's the one thing, man, that I really, really had a problem with. I think we got it to a place where it's acceptable, but it's not great by any means. That's one thing, with my next project I'm really, really going to focus on. There are certain spots in the film, watching it now, having distanced myself from, when it was first released as to now, that I wish, personally for myself, I would have maybe pushed my actors a little bit more in some of the scenes, because it feels like some of the scenes come just under where I really would have wanted them. And I guess that might go along with Ed's thing about what I would do differently. In a sense, if I could make the movie again, or if I was able to shoot it now, is I think in some certain spots, especially like in the bridge scene in the climax of the film, I think I wish I would have maybe pushed Maddie a little bit more in a sense, to kind of get him just maybe a little bit over where he would have been, or where he was with that. Maybe the intensity of the scene itself, but I guess those are kind of the downsides to it, in a sense. Upsides, I love their locations. I love the locations, and one thing I'm very proud of is just the people that worked on it. That's something that I will always carry with me, regardless of however many more things I do. If I only do a couple, great. If I make 50 more things, great. But this feature, as my first feature, the people that I surrounded myself with, like Paul and Matt, and people that really believed in it, and they were there every step of the way. And that's something I would never change in a million years. Because I'm going to be friends with these people for the rest of my life, which is just awesome. See, Paul auditioned for me via video online, read some sides online, and sent a video audition in, and that's how he got cast in the film. And so, like, literally the first day we ever met in person was the first day on set. Yeah.
Well, at the time when I auditioned, I wasn't living up here.
Oh, that's true.
When I first sent it, I was in Kentucky.
Yeah, that's right. That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. That's nuts, man.
Come a long way.
Anybody have any questions for him about being on set?
Well, I want to ask, what was your favorite and or most interesting day on set for you? You know what I mean? Because he had his whole heart attack there with nobody showing up for the graduation shoot. But for you as an actor, did you have any heart attacks or
You can speak
anything
up.
that was, you know.
Project. Well, I mean, the most obvious one definitely was that first day filming. And it's like you're meeting this other actor and you're like, okay, so the scene is you're making out.
Wait, was that actually?
That was the first time I met her.
First day
And
on
it was
set,
just like,
me
all
and
right,
Brooke had to make
we're gonna
out.
make out.
Yep. Literally. Came in, we were out Seneca area outside Royal City, and we were at my friend Nina's parents' house.
I remember just driving there like, I'm going in the middle of nowhere. All right.
And they come in, Nina throws them in makeup, and they get to make out. So it's,
Quite
Did you
literally.
do that on purpose? Like you're like, so you know what? Let's make this first day of shooting.
well, they knew on their way there because they had the script, so they knew.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, this is what we're shooting today. I've never met.
But it doesn't hit you until you see this person in front of you
But-
for the first time.
But
Like,
you thought that was a good idea. Like, let's schedule this way.
head first.
Of course, I think it was good we did it that day because.
Because then they hated each other after that.
When I shoot stuff, I want everybody to have fun, and I think it was a really kind of cool way to just be like, all right, we're making something fun here.
Did you sit down and like plan that though, or did it just kind of like
I think
scheduling?
it was
kinda
like the
just
first day
pushed
that
it
you
into
two were available at the same time, so
Yeah.
it just happened to fall on the first day that I wanted to shoot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just you were just like, all right, I get to kiss a hot girl, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't
Like,
complaining.
I'm just all right. Whatever we got to do to get this film done and get it out there.
Are you sure
I'm
you
in
got
for
that?
2.5
Should we do it
years.
again?
Like, people need to see this.
No, her and I were pretty cool about it. Just like, all right, we'll be respectful and everything. And nobody was like, we were joking around, but it was all respectful and everything like that. It was not, I don't know.
It wasn't like, woo-woo.
Yeah, none of that. It's like, I think that's the most obvious day that stands out.
Well, we got kicked out of a location.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, not dangerously or anything. It was just like,
Right. So
technically
there's
trespassing.
technically trespassing. There's an overlook because Royal City sits down in a valley, and all around the hills are all around it, and there's an overlook that for probably decades upon decades has been called hogback because it looks like the back of a pig. I guess the mountain just kind of shaped like that, or maybe the ass of a pig. Either way. And for the longest time, people used to go up there and make out and party and all this stuff, but it's private land, and people would only ever go up at night. That way, they're not seen or anything like that. And I was like, you know what? I'll bet we could go up there. I'll bet we could shoot something up there. And so we ended up parking about a quarter mile away, grabbing the equipment and walking back. And we got out there, and I set the camera up, and I set them down. They're facing, away, looking out over the city, and the camera's behind them, and we're set up, and I start rolling, and maybe 2 minutes goes by, and this truck pulls up out of nowhere. What are you guys doing? We're like, we're filming, and he's like, this is private property, and of course the thing you do at the time is, no, I had no idea this was private. What? Are you kidding me? People come up. I thought people came up here all the time and like all that. So you kind of play dumb in order to get out of it, and we did. And he was just very stern with us not being there. But we got the footage. I think the footage ended up making it into like one of the trailers, but it's only like this brief moment. We were going to cut that the shot with the camera behind them with another scene that you had ad-libbed in a field that was shot from the front, and we were going to intercut between those two and like kind of actually create a location of its own by utilizing two different locations, and it would just be a completely fabricated location, which is done all the time. We were going to do that, but that scene never ended up making it into the final cut of the movie. We didn't need it. But that was an interesting day. we were just like, oh, no, we're good. Sorry about that. So we just left. Like, luckily, the guy didn't call the cops on us, and we didn't get in trouble. But.
Would you like to do a little promo for your Oil Valley Film Festival?
Well, let's give Paul the floor first because he has some stuff he wants to plug. I know that.
Well, yeah. So in July in Jamestown, Chautauqua region, there's it's called the Jamestown Insomniac Competitive Film Festival, and it's a 24-hour film festival. I believe the official shooting date is July 20th to 21st, from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. And it's just like any other period festival like that, where you make a film in 24 hours, 2 to 5 minutes short. So if anybody's interested in that, we've kept it fairly close to ties to Chautauqua, but we've also talked about trying to open it up to a little bit more broader range of areas. And that's just $20. You get a t-shirt, there's $200 cash prize for the grand prize. And I haven't put anything like this up online yet because we're still securing super special dates and location kind of information, so that's not up there. But eventually you'll be able to look at JamestownInsomniac.com probably within a week, and there'll be full details on that. Anybody can enter that at this point. I'm kind of whatever. enter and do a film, you know.
See, that's fun stuff. I've never done something. I've always wanted to do something like that. And I've just never.
Well,
never
this would be the first year
this would
to
be
do
fun.
it.
Yeah, this would be fun.
Maybe I'll work on your audio.
My audio
situation.
editing skills.
Yeah.
Do you do it just like a 48 where you get like
You get
like
some elements and
elements and then
yeah.
okay.
Yep.
That just sounds rough.
It is rough,
So
and that's why
rough.
it's Jamestown Insomniac, because you literally, if you
Shoot
schedule
for 8
right,
hours,
I mean,
cut for 8 hours.
you can schedule your filming right, hopefully, and you can get done filming by, midnight-ish, and you'll have plenty of time between then and 6 p.m. the next day to reshoot a couple scenes or something and edit. If you do it like me doing it the 1 year, we filmed since roughly 9 p.m. to almost 6:30 a.m. and it was nuts. We were literally going insane. My brain was shutting off. I managed to get the film done, not quite how I wanted it to, but once your brain shuts off and isn't working properly, you can't see things straight, literally. But it is rough, and I would suggest take your In the Clouds idea and scale it back just a little, because you'll eventually realize, I can't do this in 24 hours.
Yeah.
But that's like a lot of filmmaking. When you do a no budget or low budget film, you have this great scheme in your head, and you're like, oh, I'll get this big, huge audience out here, and we'll do this graduation scene, and then you realize, I can't call that many people out here and do that. Let's scale it back and do it in a more reasonable tone. But like I said, give it a few days and go to JamestownInsomniac.com, and I'll have the information all up there. We do first prize, second prize, and there is usually a prize for best look at Jamestown or Chautauqua, best representation.
I thought you were going to say best looking filmmaker.
Yeah. And that's gone on since 2012, actually. This will be the 7th year.
Yeah.
Last year I took over.
Wow. That's hard to believe.
3 people were running it before, and now it's just me, pretty much. So I'm like, okay.
That's a thing.
It's a undertaking.
Yeah,
to
I know.
put this kind of stuff on. You know what I mean? I appreciate anybody who takes the effort and time and love to put into this kind of stuff.
Jamestown's a nice area. I like the experience.
Yeah,
It can be.
it has its pros and cons.
Just like anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Impressed with that.
But so there's that, and then you've got your film festival coming up.
Yeah, this is the 3rd year for the Oil Valley Film Festival. I've been kind of blown away by the quality of work that we've received. It's the first international film festival in the oil region in Pennsylvania, in the history of Pennsylvania. It's the third year for it. And we have more submissions this year than we've had in the past. Obviously, you know, as a festival director, you know, I want the festival to grow every year, and it's just kind of mind-boggling to me. We have entries from 14 different countries already this year, and I could not be happier. It's happening this year at the beginning of September, I think. So it shifts. It's normally, it's like end of August, beginning of September. And the exact dates right now are not coming to light in my head, but you can go to oilvalleyfilmfestival.weebly.com and you can check out the dates. It'll, you know, give you hotel information and stuff like that. It'll run down the past few festivals. But it's kind of fun because we've opened it up this year to a lot of more categories. We started out kind of basic with just the narrative features and shorts, and in the first year, and it's expanded since. And I'm really proud of it. And it takes place, we do screenings in the National Transit Building, the historic National Transit Building that Rockefeller used to own back in the day. Standard Oil used to have that as their headquarters in Oil City. And at the Oil City Library, which is now privatized, which is actually really nice. Dan Flaherty and the folks over there are just a gem to have on board. We usually do our shorts program at the library the first day, and then day 2 usually consists of the feature films, and then the third day is a block that I curate myself of films that have been released or put out there. That, you know, I've gotten permission to screen at the festival. This year we've been lucky enough to get a movie. I went on to the the website of this film. I don't know if you guys have seen the film Coming Through the Rye. It's about this young kid being obsessed with J.D. Salinger, and he wants to do a stage adaptation of Catcher in the Rye. And the kid is played by Alex Wolff, and Alex, if you know, he's in Hereditary, just came out. Paul, you just saw that the other day. He was in the new Jumanji movie. Alex is in it, and Academy Award winner Chris Cooper is also in it. And I hit the director up on the website because his email address was just on the website, and I was like, hey man, I have this film festival, and I like the trailer for your movie, and I'm a huge Salinger fan, and I don't know if you guys are having the movie screen anywhere, because it came out in 2014, so I don't know if you're having it screen anywhere anymore. I said, but I would love to show it during my curated block for the film festival, and he was like, all right, let's do it. So it really goes to show, like, it's important to, when you have a venue like that, you know, of some sort, if you just reach out to people, they're more often than not, they're kind of very welcoming, especially when you're interested in the work that they've done. The same thing that just happened recently with me. We launched this year a playwriting competition called the Scribe Playwriting Competition, and we're going to be actually doing those readings of the 2 winning plays, one act and 1 full length. Utilizing the venue while we have it during the film festival. The last day after the curated block, we'll be doing live readings of the 2 winning plays. I reached out to the Athena Theater Company in Manhattan, and they are they're huge into new plays and new playwrights and discovering new voices, you know, for the stage. And having grown up on stage and having that also as a passion outside of film for myself, I thought to myself, well, I've launched this playwriting contest, and they kind of have the same mission that I have. So I literally emailed them and said, hey, if you guys were willing, because you have, you know, you do these staged readings of plays and stuff, and you have a call for that sort of thing. I said, would you be willing to consider our 2 winning plays for a staged reading, you know, with the theater company in New York? And the executive director emailed me back, and she said, yeah, it sounds kind of cool, like, can I call you? And I was like, yeah, it'd be great. So we talked on the phone the other day, and they're going to consider our 2 winning plays for a stage reading in Manhattan. But it's all about being proactive, I guess, about what you're doing, as opposed to wondering where people are, why they're not looking at your stuff, and seeing what you're doing. I think it's important that we reach out, you know, especially to other artists and other organizations. That's why it was awesome for you guys to ask me to come down here today to show the movie. That's great. I appreciate that so much. But yeah, please, you know, go online, check out the film festival, come to the film festival, because the batch of movies that we've gotten this year is mind-boggling compared to even last year. And last year was awesome. So like, I'm super excited about being able to bring not only regional cinema, but international cinema to Western Pennsylvania that we normally don't get to see at a multiplex. At a regular, you know, you're not going to watch some Ben Affleck movie. You're seeing like some amazing upcoming Italian filmmaker who nobody would ever get to see if I didn't have him come to this, you know, bring it to this region. These people around here would never get to see that kind of stuff. And I think it opens up more eyes to what cinema is as a medium. The more that we can expose it to people, especially on an international level. Yeah.
This film festival, does everybody that applies get accepted?
No. We have to fit the programming to within, you know, like a 3-day span, or 2.5-day span. I think right now this year we have almost 130 entries, and there's nowhere near going to be 130 movies shown in 2.5 days. It's just not going to happen. Anybody else? We good? Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Awesome. Cool. All right. Sweet. No, thanks guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. Yeah.